On this episode, we're going to be opening up about my story. And my story consists of my older brother that passed away. What's up, y'all? It's Motion Muse, and you're watching Tip the Scale Pod. So, I got a phone call from my mother, and her face was just like I knew somebody had passed away, but I didn't know who. So, she just said, Kiera. And I was like, I just started crying. And she's like, what are you crying for? You don't even know what I'm finna say. And I'm like, I just said it. I was like, who died? And then she hung up. And then she called me back with my aunt on the phone. I'm like, oh no, my grandma passed away. But then she was like, no, your grandma's fine. It's Liz. He's dead. And I just started crying. It was bad. I was doing Instacart and I had an order and I just was crying like profusely and I just couldn't even drive. Like I almost got into a car accident actually. And then I had dropped off my order and my customer was like, are you okay? Are you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. Something just happened, but I'm fine. Thank you, blah, blah, blah. And then I called like my friend and I was like, I was just crying. He's like, what's wrong? I'm like, my brother's dead. And he like, what happened? I'm like, I don't know. My mom just called me and told me like, so I'm like driving home, or back to my dorm or whatever. And I'm like beating on the steering wheel. Like I really had a bruise on the side of my hand. So I was like beating on the steering wheel so hard. And I'm just like crying and crying. I just was so sad. So once I got back to my dorm, I was just, again, a train wreck. And I ended up calling my close friend. We ended up going to the beach because we kind of could relate. And then I went home, went to sleep, and I couldn't even sleep that night. And then I went to my friend's dorm that next morning, and then I drove to Atlanta like after I took a nap because I really did not sleep that night. So I went to his room, took a nap, and then I drove to Atlanta that same day because that's where my brother was, in Atlanta. And so I drove to Atlanta. It was like a 5 to 6 hour drive, and kind of on the way there, I wasn't really listening to sad music because I didn't want to be crying and driving 6 hours. So I was just listening to like my regular Sun Walker, Party Next Door, Drake. And then like once I got onto the exit to head towards Atlanta, I was like, okay, it's getting real. So I get to Atlanta. I met my mom and aunt at my brother's apartment. And that within itself was like a hassle because we had to get stuff like notarized to be able to get into his apartment. And then eventually, like somehow, something, I don't know, I'm gonna just say it was nothing but God, but somehow we end up like getting down to like the courthouse to get notarized, and then like a bunch of stuff happened, and then like we just end up getting it notarized or something like that. That was 4 years ago, so it's a lot to remember and stuff, but that's what I remember from that. I was in nursing school, so I still had like a couple of exams to take, but I kind of got that figured out, and I kind of wish I didn't go back to Jacksonville once I did, leave and go to Atlanta, then come back to St. Louis, but we'll talk about that when we get there. So when we were in his apartment, we were just kind of like packing everything up and looking around and just trying to see, clues and stuff to see if like we missed anything, just to figure out kind of like how he passed away, because when we found out, we didn't really know how he passed away. Obviously we didn't find out until we got the autopsy back. But I was in his room and I was just on the phone with my friends, and I was just in there like tore up. Like, it was bad. But later on that night, my aunt and my mom sat me down, and they basically were like talking to me, and they were just trying to say, like, you know, we don't really know what was going on, but we want you to know that you can come and talk to us, and you know, we don't want nothing to happen to you now that this is happening and stuff, and you know, this is a lot on you. So they were just trying to basically comfort me in a hard time, but it's nothing you can hurt in the world after you're your only sibling and older brother, your protector, person who watched over you passes away. Like, it was nothing that nobody could say to me that would make me feel better. But I appreciated the kind regards, but it was still a lot to process. So once we left Atlanta, that's when it kind of all started to like hit me. It was nothing but open road for 11-12 hours back to St. Louis, and I just wanted to sleep. Couldn't really think about nothing. I literally had like 2-3 exams to do, but I was not worried about that at all. Once we got back to St. Louis, it was just like perpetual emotion, starting to plan everything, like his funeral. I wanted to do a candlelight, so I reached out to the principal at Hazelwood West, because that's where we both went, and we had a candlelight at Hazelwood West. It was really good. It was a good turnout. His funeral was on November the 8th, which is my grandpa's and my close cousin's birthday. And it was a good turnout as well. It was very hard to be there and, you know, see my brother for the last time and seeing how my mom was, you know, reacting, and it was just hard to watch. Back into that time frame. So around like November the 10th, which was like 2 days after my brother's funeral, I was like listening to music a lot, and I was saying how music was gonna save my life, and I feel like it did. And I remember saying, like, I felt like I was gonna be heartbroken for the rest of my life, and I got a lot of like encouraging words from, you know, people that I know and people that follow me and that I follow. And that's just when everything started to like unravel. So after my brother's funeral, me and my mom just hopped on the flight to Houston. It was very much needed. It was like just to get away from everything and everybody, because you know, when somebody passes away, you know, you got a lot of people coming to you and sending you their love and sending you their condolences and stuff, and that could be a lot on somebody or a family just to get that much attention off of something that is so like heartbreaking and, you know, hard to deal with. So once we got to Houston, we were there and stuff, I kind of started to feel like whole and like kind of feel like myself. Like, Houston was definitely a vibe, and it was definitely really nice to be there. And of course, once we left, I was sad and stuff, but you know, gotta get back to reality. So it was hard to work. I hadn't been working for 3 weeks because I had found out that my brother passed away while I was working. So of course that was kind of like traumatizing for me, and not wanting to get back out and work again because that's all I could think about. So I was just working heavily, you know, after the 3 weeks had passed, everything had settled down, and it was just like not back to normal, but you know, back to reality. You know, gotta handle business and, you know, do things, and you know, gotta keep yourself busy and stuff to, you know, not run from it, but you know, put it to the side. Once, like a month, well, at this point it's 2 months. So once Christmas came around, Christmas was actually not bad. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was gonna be. But after Christmas is kind of when everything started to really like unravel with my mental health and stuff. So around like January the 3rd, I had gotten my wisdom teeth pulled, and I did not have like laughing gas. I was perfectly awake, and I felt all the pressure, and I really feel like that did something to me. But so after I got my wisdom teeth pulled, that's kind of when everything really started to unfold. So I had got a car wash, and like I was just giving money to everybody. And then I was talking about God a lot to like people that would, anybody that would talk to me, I'm talking about God, which is fine. Again, like I said that before, it's fine. But there's like a limit to things, especially when it comes to religion. Like you don't want to force religion or God on people, especially people that, you know, don't feel the same. It's kind of like politics. Once I got home, I was telling Mom, like, Mom, I went to the car wash and I gave this person some money and this person some money and that person, and she was like confused. I thought me not understanding what was going on. I'm like, why you not happy? She like, you coming to tell me that you was giving your money away. I'm confused. Like, are you okay? I'm like, yeah. I mean, I don't see nothing wrong with it. But that's kind of when, I guess that might have been when she started to notice that something was kind of going on with me. And then I was going to Texas for someone's birthday, and the day before I was about to leave, I didn't do Instacart. I just was in the house because like I had felt something like in my spirit telling me like not to go out. Like a lot of bad stuff was about to happen, and like it was safe for me to stay at home or whatever. So I stayed at home, and then I was going to get my hair done, but the person who wanted to do my hair, they wanted to reschedule, but I was like, no, I really want to come. Like, I really want to come. I really, you know, I need my hair done. I'm about to go out of town. Like, please. So she's okay, you can come. So it was like, I want to say it was like 10 p.m. that I was going to get my hair done. And I was going way out in Illinois. So once people, like my friends, saw my location, like everybody started to like be alarmed and stuff. And they were telling me like, are you okay? Like, why you out in Illinois? Like, where are you going? Are you okay? And I kind of just like stopped responding, which is like, I don't know why I stopped responding, but I did. That's when like everybody's blowing my phone up, like ask me again where I'm at and stuff, why I'm not responding. So after I leave, that's kind of like when it all started to like unravel for real. Like when stuff started getting serious, it was like a blur. Like it stopped making sense like all together. So I'm driving and I'm like speeding like 80, 100, and I'm not holding the wheel. So I'm like, I'm testing God. I'm finna see and test my limits, and you know, I'm finna drive reckless and nothing's gonna happen. And so I speed home, like literally, I sped home. And I get home, and I'm like, we just won the lottery. We won the lottery. We won. Everybody's sleeping, of course, because it's like 1 in the morning. So I run downstairs to my aunt's room, and I'm like, we won the lottery, we won the lottery. They're like, what? I'm like, we won the lottery. So then they follow me upstairs, and I go, and I'm like, just overly excited about winning the lottery, and I'm like, I don't even know where that came from. So my mom comes out of her room, and she's like, what's going on? Like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, we won the lottery. So then they're like, you're not going to Texas. I'm like, what you mean I'm not going to Texas? They're like, look at how you acting. Like, you're not going to Texas. Like, something is wrong. Something is wrong. So I'm like, no, I just need to go to sleep. And by this point, I hadn't been to sleep in like a week, maybe. Not a week, maybe a week is a little dramatic. Maybe like 3 or 4 days I hadn't been to sleep. And I wasn't really eating for either. So they're like, we finna take you somewhere, like put your clothes on or whatever. So I get in the shower, and I'm like, I just started crying. I didn't want none of this. Like, I didn't want the money. I just want my brother. So basically, at this point, I'm on some like conspiracy theory, Illuminati stuff, and I'm like, I'm gonna sell this. So I was just like, it was so bad. So once I get out the shower, my mom and my aunt are like basically following me around, and I'm like telling them to pretty much get the out of my face. Like, you just need to get out of my face. I'm like cussing them out. So then it's like I start to go to my grandma's room because my mom starts following me around, trying to like obviously discipline me because I'm cussing them out. So I'm like, Granny, help me. They trying to whoop me. But then they're like, no, you need to, like, it's too late for that. Like, you need to come on. So I basically put my clothes on, and I'm like, let me just lay down. They're like, no, it's too late to lay down. You should lay down when you came in the house. That's over with. So they was like, how about this? If we take you somewhere and they say that you're okay, you can go to Texas. So I'm like, okay, whatever. So I get in the car, and for some odd reason, they put me in the front. Why are you gonna put somebody who's acting like this in the front seat? So they put me in the front, and I'm like going crazy. Like, I'm like hitting the dashboard and kicking the sunroof, like to the point where I broke the sunroof or whatever. And my mom calls my dad. What was that supposed to do? I don't know. But they called my dad. My dad making it worse. Like, you shouldn't be acting like this. Like, you and your mom are going through a lot. Your mom is going through a lot. And I'm just like, I ain't trying to hear none of that. So they drive me somewhere. We get out the car, and it says Centerpoint. So I'm like, okay. So I get out the car. I walk in. They're like, hey, how can we help you? And I said it just like this. I said, these bitches think something wrong with me. Ain't nothing wrong with me. And lady mouth just dropped. And she was like, okay, we'll have you fill out this paperwork. And da-da-da-da. So I fill out the paperwork, and I'm just writing like everything that has nothing to do with me. I'm like writing down my brother's name, writing down his birthday, writing down like I had a bunch of stuff in my system, like all types of stuff. Just was writing anything on that paper. I don't know why they let me fill it out, but they did. So then they put me in the room by myself, and that's when I finally lay down because it was couch in the room. So I finally lay down and I go to sleep, and that's when, like, after I woke up, I was like super confused on where I was. Like, I kind of was like not back to myself, but I kind of like understood what was going on. So as I'm laying on the couch, I hear like somebody talking to me, but nobody was in the room but me. So I'm listening to what they're saying, and it was the TV talking, and I'm thinking the TV's talking to me. And if you know, you know. So the TV's just saying all this stuff. That's when I kind of like woke up, and I was like kind of paranoid, trying to figure out where I was. Because at that point, I didn't forget where I was, but I just wasn't in the right state of mind. So I get up, and I just like look around the room, and I notice a camera in the middle of the room. In the corner of the room. So I'm like trying to talk to the camera because I felt like they were looking at me. I felt like they were watching me. So I talked to the camera, and I'm like, y'all need to let me out of this fucking room. So I'm like trying to run to the door. I'm like pulling the door. The door was locked. So they got me in this locked room. The room was big too, with the TV in and chairs and stuff. So I'm like, okay, bet. So I take the remote and I try to throw it at the camera, but I'm missing because like it was kind of really far away. So then I turn around and I just started banging on the TV, like bust the screen out. I just blacked out. I'm laying on the TV, done cracked the TV. Then that's when he had finally came in there, and no, I'm lying. I lay back down on the couch and I go back to sleep, and I wake up and like it's like so many people in the room all of a sudden, and they're like, hi, I'm such and such, and I'm like, get out of my face. Like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know who you are. Like, please get out of my face. So that's when they take me to, they tell me to sit in this chair. So I sit in the chair, and they're like strapping me to the chair for whatever reason. I didn't understand why they were strapping me to a chair, but obviously they saw the TV. They're like, yeah, we're not going for that. So they strap me to this chair, and as they're taking me out of the room, I see my mom and my aunt. And I'm like, yeah, I really finna let them do this to me. And they wasn't saying nothing. They wasn't nothing. I'm like, y'all not got nothing to say? So I'm like, okay. So they take me to somewhere. I just get, at this point, it's kind of like a blur. So I'm in a room, another room. But this time there's a bed in the room. And I'm strapped to a chair, and I'm just saying all type of stuff. Cause like I'm in like a 4-point restraint, like leg strap, arm strap. I'm just talking. I'm just like saying all type of stuff like, let me out of here. This is how such and such passed away because there was this and this. I'm just saying like stuff that don't even make sense. And they shooting me up with needles. I'm like, what is going on? Like, I don't know what's going on. I just know it was a nurse in the room with me. He was just, I guess he was there to comfort me. I don't know what he was there for. But it was a nurse in the room with me, and they just kept like putting needles in me. I'm just like, what is going on? Like, yeah, so what y'all over here being messy for? But eventually I go to sleep and I wake up in another room, and I woke up and I'm like, what day is it? They're like, it's like, just for example, like they're like, it's Monday. I'm like, it's Monday. I gotta go to Texas. I gotta fly to Texas. Like, they're like, oh no, you're not going to Texas. You're here for 96 hours. You're on a 96-hour hold. The court said it. I'm like, the court? What are y'all talking about? They like, you don't remember how you was acting when you got her? And I'm like, huh? They're like, you don't remember nothing you did. I'm like, no. They're like, well, you broke a TV. You did this. You attacked everybody. I'm like, what? Like, that's crazy. So eventually, like, once I, calm down and kind of get back to my norm or whatever, that's when I realized, like, I'm in a psych ward. So I'm like trying to figure out like what's going on. I'm talking to the nurses like, how long I'm gonna be here, why am I here, etc. And they like, well, your family brought you in because you're over the age of such and such, you're your own legal guardian, but your family brought you, and you, because of how you were acting, you're on a 96-hour hold. And I'm just like, I'm supposed to be going to Texas. They're like, oh yeah, no, they already canceled your flight. I'm like, they canceled my flight. I was pissed. So I'm just like, where the phone's at? So I'm calling them like, what's going on? They like, you needed to go because of how you was acting. Like, do you not know what you were saying? You were saying a lot of stuff about your brother and, a lot of people. Like, you made a scene on Instagram. And I'm just like, huh? They're like, yeah. So one thing that I did say that I never got to clear the air about, and I'm clearing it right now. So to clear the air, when I was in mania, I had stated that my brother had HIV. That is not true. Nobody, nothing said that in his autopsy. None of that was true. However, since it was so bad when I first said it, and it was like, even though I don't even think it was up for that long, it was still up long enough for people to take it and run with it. That wasn't true. I just was in a very manic state. I was saying a lot of stuff. So that's me clearing the air on that after 4 years. Because everybody was pissed. Nobody wanted me to go back and say nothing about it when it did happen once I came home from the hospital. Nobody let me speak on it again. So here I am 4 years later speaking on it, clearing the air for my brother. Thank you. So every time I met with the psychiatrist, I'm like, am I going home? When am I going home? And they wasn't saying nothing. Like, nothing at all. Like, literally, he asked me how I felt. Was I eating? How was I sleeping? And then he'd send me out the room. On top of that, while I was there, I basically was like getting bullied. Because it was like Caucasians, older people. It was not nothing. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. I'll say that much. So once I told them like I need to go back to nursing school, that was kind of like my escape route, kind of, sort of. And I'm like, I need to go back to nursing school. Like, I have to go back to school in like 2 weeks. Like, can y'all let me go? So, let's say like 2 weeks passed. They finally let me go. Literally only because I had to go back to school. If I wasn't going back to school, I would have stayed there for like, they wanted to keep me for like 6 weeks for evaluation or whatever. And then some of the nurse practitioners were like telling me that I should leave Jacksonville and just come home, to be closer to home, to be monitored or whatever. And I'm like, I don't care about nothing y'all talking about. I'm going back to school. Like, this is not gonna stop me. So I get out like literally the day before I was about to leave. So I didn't have no time to do nothing. Like, go see nobody, go do work, nothing. I just came home, packed my clothes, and got back on the road to go to Jacksonville. So I'm going back to Jacksonville, and I got all these meds prescribed, like I said, propranolol, lithium, Abilify, Zyprexa, anything you could think of, I was on it. And I got back to Jacksonville, and then maybe like that first week, I started to notice that I was kind of like moving like a zombie. Like, I couldn't even like write a sentence without my hand moving slow or shaking or something. And then I couldn't really stay focused in class. It was just like, what was the point after that? Fast forwarding, I would say like, I think I dropped out of nurse school like that next year, and I switched my major to health science, and nothing was the same. So they had diagnosed me with a couple of things: PTSD, schizophrenia, bipolar. But they had diagnosed me with all that stuff, so couldn't go nowhere. Couldn't do none of that. Can't go to the military with none of that on my record. So that's kind of like what the past 4 years have been. Well, 3 is, living with a diagnosis of a schizophrenic. Schizophrenia is like hallucinations, auditory, basically like hearing things that aren't actually there, seeing things that aren't actually there, feeling things like somebody touching you but it's not actually there. And I guess they literally based it off of me saying that night that I came in, I was like hearing things, imagining people talking to me, saying like a lot of stuff that made no sense. But I just don't see how, even then and now, 3 years ago, how they could diagnose somebody with so little information. Like, that was my first mental break ever. It happened right after my brother passed away. So why wouldn't y'all evaluate somebody a lot closer or longer before just putting it on their record? Because that's something that's not easy to get off your record. I'm pretty sure once I start the process of trying to get that removed off of my record, I'm going to have to be evaluated for probably 6 months to a year closely for them to say like, okay, we're going to take it off or something like that. It just comes with a lot of technicalities and legal stuff that probably has to occur for that to be sponged off my record. But I would say that definitely had a very impactful on my college career after that, because like I said, I had to drop out of nursing school, switch my major, couldn't really do the same things as everybody, couldn't drink, no smoking, because I'm taking a bunch of medicine that doesn't coexist with drinking or smoking, which was fine because I was never a heavy drinker, and as far as smoking, like, that's something that can be picked up and put back down. But overall, it was just a lot to deal with. trying to enjoy college and then having my dreams of being a nurse or whatever the case was, to now I'm health science. And at the end of the day, I'm still very grateful to have a degree and have the college experience, but I would definitely say, like, after my brother passed away, nothing was really the same after that. So once all that did happen, I came up with this little saying, like, forever my heart, forever my brother, forever my muse, which is what my hoodie says. And then he passed away on the 25th, so that is where the 25 comes from on my pendant. And that was kind of the whole reason why I started the podcast, because again, mental health awareness is something that people are not really educated on, and that is why I wanted to be, if not the first, one of the first podcasters to talk about mental health awareness. So what you can expect on the next episode will be talking about triggers and stressors, how to deal with them, and then I guess you could say kind of like going in more deeper into like how the past 3 years has been, and then like what to expect in the future. So thank you for listening. Please like, comment, and subscribe and share. Motion Use signing.